The air in our kitchen felt heavier than usual, thick with an unspoken tension that had been gnawing at me for weeks. I stood at the sink, scrubbing a pan that didn't need scrubbing, my hands moving almost mechanically while Sarah sat at the table, her eyes glued to her phone. Her left hand lay bare, absent of the ring I had slipped onto her finger 8 years ago beneath a sky full of stars. A promise once sacred, now vanished. At first, I told myself maybe the ring was at the jeweler's, or perhaps she'd just forgotten it at home, but that absence grew louder, like a silent scream piercing through the quiet moments between us tonight. I couldn't hold it back any longer. "Sarah," my voice barely above a whisper, softer than I intended. "Why aren't you wearing your ring anymore?" Her thumb froze mid-scroll, and suddenly the room seemed to shrink. The hum of the refrigerator grew impossibly loud. She looked up, her hazel eyes catching the dim kitchen light, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I caught a flicker of something hidden there, guilt, maybe fear. But then her lips curved into a small, dismissive smile. "It doesn't mean anything, Tom, it's just a ring, just a ring." Her words hit me like a sucker punch, knocking the air out of my lungs. I stared at her, searching for the woman who had cried when I proposed, who had traced the band with trembling fingertips, as if it carried the weight of every promise we made. I set the pan down carefully, my hands shaking slightly, then slid my own ring off and placed it on the counter with a soft clink. "If it doesn't mean anything," I said, my voice calm despite the storm swirling inside me, "then maybe I don't need to wear mine either." Her smile faltered, but she said nothing, just turned back to her phone as if I hadn't just cracked open the fragile shell of our marriage and laid it bare on the kitchen table. I left the kitchen, my chest tight with a crushing emptiness, feeling like I was stepping into a home that no longer belonged to me. The next morning, I woke to the familiar scent of coffee and the soft sound of Sarah humming in the kitchen. The routine should have comforted me. It reminded me of mornings filled with laughter over burnt toast, stolen kisses before work, and whispered dreams, but now it felt hollow, like a rehearsed act. I sat quietly at the table, watching her pour cream into her mug, her bare hand steady as ever. I wanted to ask again, to demand the truth, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I noticed the small details I'd never seen before: the way her phone always lay face down, the late nights she claimed were work, the new perfume clinging to her skin like a stranger's touch. "Big day today," I tried, forcing casual. She shrugged without looking up. "Just meetings and reports, the usual." But I didn't know anymore. Sarah was a graphic designer, her days filled with deadlines and creative briefs, but lately, her answers had become vague, stories inconsistent. Last week, she told me she'd been at a client dinner, yet her car was parked 2 streets away from her office when I drove by. I told myself it was nothing, that paranoia was poisoning my mind, but the doubt had rooted itself deep, twisting through every thought like wild ivy. That afternoon, driven by a mixture of desperation and fear, I did something I swore I never would. While Sarah was in the shower, I picked up her phone. The screen glowed, locked tight behind a password I didn't know. My hands trembled as I tried the codes I once thought she'd never change. Our anniversary, her birthday, mine. Nothing worked. The phone stood like an impenetrable fortress guarding her secrets. I set it down gently, my heart pounding like a trapped animal in my chest. When the water stopped running, I slipped out to the garage, pretending to tinker with my tools, but really trying to quiet the chaos inside me. Days bled into one another in a fog of suspicion and silence. I began noticing everything: a coffee receipt from a cafe we never visited, text notifications that disappeared before I could read them, the way she tensed when I reached for her. I wanted to believe there was an explanation, something simple and innocent, but the empty space where her ring once rested kept pulling me back to the truth. It wasn't just a ring. It was us, our vows, our memories, the life we built, and she had discarded it like it was nothing. One evening, I came home early and found her laughing on the couch, her head bent over her phone. The sound was light and unguarded, something I hadn't heard in months. It stopped me cold. "What's so funny?" I asked, leaning against the doorway. Her head snapped up, and the laughter died on her lips. "Just a meme," she said quickly, slipping the phone under a cushion. "You wouldn't get it." I sat beside her, close enough to feel the cold space growing between us. Sarah, talk to me. What's going on? You're different. She sighed, rubbing her temples. I'm just stressed. Work's been crazy. Can we not do this right now? But I couldn't let it go. The words slipped out before I could catch them. Ron, desperate. Is it someone else? Her eyes widened, then narrowed with a flicker of anger. Are you serious, Tom? You think I'm cheating just because I'm not wearing my ring? Then why? My voice grew sharper. Why take it off? Why hide your phone? Why lie about where you've been? She stood abruptly, face flushed. I'm not lying. You're just paranoid. Maybe I needed a break, just a break from feeling trapped. Trapped. The word cut through the room like a jagged blade. I stared at her, throat tightening, and saw something I hadn't noticed before, not guilt, but defiance. She wasn't sorry. She was angry. Angry at me for seeing through her. The truth unraveled slowly, a thread pulled loose from a once strong sweater. When she slept, I began checking her laptop, finding emails left open. Messages to someone named Alex filled with inside jokes and plans to meet. Can't wait to see you. One read, miss you already, said another. My stomach twisted as I read words meant for someone else, words that shattered my world from the inside out. I didn't confront her immediately. I needed proof, something undeniable. It came on a rainy Tuesday. I followed her after work, hating myself for every step, but unable to stop. She pulled up to a bar downtown, one we'd never visited together. Through the rain-streaked window, I saw her slide into a booth opposite a tall, dark-haired man whose smile was too familiar. She laughed, touched his arm, her face glowing with a light I hadn't seen in years. I stood outside in the cold rain, my coat soaked through, watching the woman I loved fall in love with someone else. When she got home that night, I was waiting. Her hair was damp, her cheeks flushed, but the moment she saw me standing there, everything shifted. My ring lay on the counter where I'd left it, a silent witness to everything broken between us. Tom, she began, but I raised a hand to stop her. I saw you, I whispered, voice cracked but steady, with him at the bar. Her shoulders sagged, and for the first time, she didn't deny it. His name's Alex. She confessed softly. We worked together. It just happened. Just happened. I laughed bitterly, the sound hollow and broken. You don't just happen to stop wearing your ring, Sarah. You don't just happen to lie for months. Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered, I didn't mean to hurt you. I was unhappy and didn't know how to tell you. I still love you, Tom. I just don't. I cut her off, voice hard and cold. Don't say you love me when you've been building a life with someone else.